Hi guys, I told you it was a big one. I told you it was going to be good. I'm here, Courtney, Sweetman, Kirk. I can't wait for this one. It's going to be good. Courtney, tell the people about yourself. Obviously, you're currently in Sheffield United. I've seen you play a few times, smashing it. Just tell the people about yourself. You know how you got into football, anything you want the people to know, and what you do, and all that jazz.
Okay, so we'll start from the beginning. I'd say currently a Blade, but we'll go back. So don't really know how I got into football. Like my mum was into gymnastics. My dad grew up sort of around the world. So he was into athletics and American football. But my mum always tells me a story of how I was begging her at 4 years old to stay up and watch Match of the Day. So I don't really know where it came from, but grew up on an estate, always kicking things around and kicking the balls around with the lads. And yeah, it's just one of them. Like was I think lucky really, especially at that sort of age. I mean, I don't want to say my age, I'm getting old now, but I'm 30. So, back in the day, being 7, 8 years old in the 90s, a girl playing football wasn't as common as it is now. But lucky with school and stuff like that, I had some really supportive teachers, some supportive people. And yeah, just sort of progressed that way, playing in a boys team. It was funny, actually. Me and Remy Allen, who's currently playing for Villa. We grew up playing in the same boys team, so it was funny because we'd turn up, and it was funny. We never got stick from the other players. It was always the parents thinking, like, what are these two girls doing in the team getting stick? And we were the two best players. So yeah, it's one of them. But yeah, grew up doing that and went through then all the Leicester Centre of Excellence. Rianne Skinner, who's now the Spurs manager, was sort of our centre director, and we went into the first team at like 15 when that was a thing and we could do that. Yeah, getting 15 years old, getting kicked about by women, and Rachel Williams as well, who was in the Leicester first team. So once you've got kicked about by Rachel Williams in training, you're not really that fussed about anyone else, to be honest, because the nicest girl you'll ever meet, but scary girl as well. So
it sounds like women's football is just like everyone knows everyone. It's sort of like that kind of click in it where, because I think not a lot, it's still growing now, and you're seeing more centre of excellence, RTCs. But I suppose back then it was only few, like you said, just Leicester, and I know Arsenal were big back then as well. But did you ever see it being a career? Like, did you ever think I'm going to be professional? Definitely 100%.
I don't know. Like I always said it. Maybe it's like an affirmation sort of thing. Like I always told everyone I was going to be a footballer, and like, especially when you're younger, everyone's like laughing at you, especially the adults. Like I say, it's always the adults normally. Yeah. But yeah, everyone laughing, and I'm a massive Man United fan, as you probably know. So I wanted to grow up and play for Man United. At the time, that wasn't a thing. So at all, obviously, no women's team. So yeah, I wanted. David Beckham was my hero. So, I always had the number 7 shirt and, screaming Beckham as I'm taking free kicks and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't maybe think it was realistic, but I always said it was going to happen. So maybe I've sort of put it into existence somehow.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sort of like you, but I'm no good. I'm not talented. I'm just, I love to play, but I suppose, like you say, you didn't really want to. I don't know. I mean, you went from Leicester to Lincoln, Notts County, was it?
Yeah, correct.
So how did that come about?
You know where I went to I think it was the World Junior Games in China. China was that one, because that was the one before, because the one in I think it was 2013, can't remember, Kazan, that's the one where we won the gold, and it was like Dan Carter, Frank Kirby, like Mary Earps, like just an unbelievable squad. But yeah, we went to that one in China, unbelievable experience. So it's like, for people that don't know, it's like the second biggest event after the Olympics. It's basically like a mini Olympics, and just the experience from that, being in China, going to, on the days off, going to watch things like swimming and basketball. I think Tash Harding and Razza Roberts was in that squad as well. So like a decent squad as well.
Yeah.
But, the stories about that, and going to buy like fake trainers and getting stuck in a garage, and like weird stuff. But it was funny. And yeah, Eartha Conn was on that one as well. So yeah, just a brilliant experience from that, and then came back and spoke to Rick Passmore at the time, and I thought I was just going to go and play for their devs and work my way up, but ended up somehow in the first team, and then again, unbelievable. Started at Lincoln, and I'm sat in the dressing room across from Casey Stoney, and I'm like, wow, yeah. So that's obviously a madness, but again, fantastic players, and yeah, just worked my way up. Made the move over to Notts County, as it was at the time, as women's football was a lot less stable at that point. So there was lots of changes. But yeah, like enjoyed that time. Rick, Rick, he's a funny guy. Like I spoke to him not long ago, and he's a good guy. But at that time, scared the living daylights out of me. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, a fantastic time in my career. Like as a young player at that point, being around those sort of players and England captains and stuff like that. That's the experience. It's so invaluable, and not surprised in terms of what Casey's gone on to do in terms of management, because she was always so switched on and just like a born leader, and you could tell like management was something that she would go into.
Yeah, I mean, when you say about like people that scare you, Casey is one. I think a lot of United fans, she put the scares on us, and I think probably a lot of the young players. Obviously, it's like you're saying, you're a young player, you're doing that. County, like you said, women's football is still not where it is now. It wasn't that Sky Sports. It wasn't that big time. And obviously, then I think you went Donny Bells, and then Liverpool, and then Everton, Liverpool. How was that time, and did you see it growing, and how was like the transition sort of from going?
It's mad because you're going from a transition of, like say, being in boys team and centre of excellence and paying to play, and then you slightly start to build, you get a little bit of money in your pocket, you're still having to work, and then it just progresses, and County was like a bit of a stepping stone for that, for me, which was good. Donny was like, I've got great memories of Donny. Like it was fantastic. Like again, you look at this squad, we had Siggy and Millie Bright, Beth England, like just like ballers all over the pitch. Like, and it was it was a fantastic time. I think obviously there's a bit of a sour note's probably the wrong to put it, but with the whole Project Phoenix, and obviously that was meant to go ahead, and that really didn't happen the way it did. And it was unfortunate because I think the Largos at the time who backed it and BPP, they were trying to do the right thing, but just didn't maybe have they had the business brains for sure, but just didn't really have the football brains at the time to get it where it needed to be, which was a shame, because then, you look at where Donny are now, and, it's a shame that a football institution are where they are, but equally, I think, you've got to look at it as a transition, because they didn't, do the right things at times off the pitch to make it sustainable for players, and there were things that weren't right. And like I say, I know a lot of people was upset, and the things like the demotion without even playing a game, and I get it, it's hard, but equally, if we want the game to progress and girls to have football as a full-time occupation, then unfortunately these are the little casualties that, well, not little, it wasn't little, but these are the casualties that have to happen along the way. So yeah, like fantastic memories, and obviously recently Judy Chipcho's passed away, and again, it's funny because she was like my first under-15s coach, and again at the time scary, and still was to the day, but also at Donny I got more of sort of the day-to-day and seeing the softer side of her as well, but still wouldn't cross her, I'm not gonna lie.
That's probably where, like, I suppose then you went from Donny to Everton, like Liverpool.
Yeah, that was the big one, I think. Like, we would do it, like say County was at the time sort of a hybrid. Same with Donny. It wasn't, I'll be honest with you, like at times when we said we were full-time, it weren't full-time. Like it wasn't that, and that is what it is. But yeah, Everton was the first one where I was like, right, like I'm a full-time footballer now. You're at Finch Farm, you go in and, Wayne Rooney saying you're right. And obviously, again, like I say, as a Man United fan, seeing him, and what, it's funny because he was like the nicest guy, like the biggest star, but the nicest guy. So he's coming up to you saying hello, and it's that's when that it's proper at that point.
Yeah, just got a comment here from Matt. How much inspiration did you take from Stoney? I know you just mentioned it, but you said that playing with those players, especially when you're young, it really helped you. And then obviously, do you think it like helped you be like, listen, I'm definitely doing it now. I'm definitely going to be a footballer.
Yeah, because it's not even necessarily what she says, it's how she conducted herself. Like how fit she was, how in shape she was, the way that, every training session on it, like in the game. So she was one that, don't get me wrong, as you say, she could be scary, but led by example as well, and then knew the right times to put her arms around players, but also give you a bit of a rocket. So yeah, and to see that and think, what, like I'm in the same changing room as this person, like I deserve to be here as well. Like it gives you that sense of, what, I deserve to be here, but also I need to work as hard as she does, because she's England captain, whatever, how many caps, and she's the hardest worker in the room. She's got nothing to prove, and she's still the hardest worker. So I think for me, like, it's my work ethic's always a big thing. Like, I don't get me wrong, like, I can kick a ball, but I've never been the most technical player, like, for me. So I knew that my other attributes had to be on top form. So yeah, that was the work ethic is definitely a massive thing, and she's a great example of that.
You did talk about Everton, and that was the first time you were like professional. And I know then obviously you went from Everton to Liverpool, and you did talk about. We don't have to touch on that if you don't. But you can talk about crossing that divide and stuff. And how was it for you when crossing that divide? Then was it all right? Because I see it. It's sort of coming now, isn't it? The rivalry a bit in women's football.
I think. Don't get me wrong. There was a few raised eyebrows, but I probably missed the boat in the worst of it for sure. But yeah, like it just is what it is. I think it's football, and I think I get it. And the rivalry is coming more because of the professionalisation of the game. But what I think fans, especially for the women's game, like need to understand it is like you can afford not to take that move in the men's game because you're probably on X amount a week, or you've got another contract, or there's a bigger pool of clubs to go to. Whereas, sometimes for the women's game, like you've got a 2-year contract and that's it. And it's not like the most fantastic. It's definitely not retirement money even now. Like it's better and better, but it's not retirement money. So if your only option is to, potentially for some players drop out the game, or not be in a full-time environment, you're going to take it, and you're going to take that move. So I get the loyalty thing, but it's hard. And I think also, and this is a massive thing within football, not just women's football but men's football, players are commodities. So like fans always expect players to be very loyal to the club, but they don't always understand behind the scenes that the club ain't being loyal to them. So, that wasn't my case, but like I'm just saying, like that's sometimes why players have to make certain moves that are unpopular.
I even know, like with fans aren't loyal to players in a way. Yeah, and fans will say, well, they need to go. They need to go. 5X need to go.
Well, it's like the
get
best
5X
in at the minute is Dan James, isn't it? He's moved to Leeds, and I can't really say the exact chant, but obviously Leeds fans were not very forgiving of him and telling him he wasn't very good. And then he's gone there. So fans are fickle. Like it's brilliant. Like football's football. Do you know what I mean? But I think I would. Yeah, I was quite lucky. I think if I'd have done that move now, it definitely I would have got a lot more stick than I did. But I've got a fair bit. I was expecting it, so I've got big shoulders. I can take it. I'm a big girl.
Yeah. And here's one from Vicky, and I think as well it sort of ties into what you were saying about Donny Bells, because I remember when United came in, we came in, the championship just started, the league that you're in, we came in full time. Donny Bells obviously dropped down, and there was all this commotion. I mean, if John's in, he'll know it too, because I know he's a big Sunderland fan, and Sunderland back in the thing now. But all that was about that, and United had come in, and it was everyone hates United. How dare they? Donny Bells, most famous club. What was your thoughts and feelings, though, like what Vicky said, when you heard that it was Man United? Yeah, it's taken too long, but
it has.
But what did you think?
Obviously, like as a United fan, secretly buzzing. Like to have a Man United women's team is a big thing. They're the biggest club in the world, so they've got to have that women's team. Yeah, was it too late? But it's here now, and I think, like I say, it's so difficult because especially in England, like football's very tribal. Like you look at America, it's a franchise and it's different the way they do their sports. But for us, we want to do it on merit, and you have to work your way up. And I do get that. But being a bit of a bit more of a pragmatist, I would say, in my background, I've got a master's in sports business, so then I look at it from that side as well. And like I say, I love my time at Donny, and it's not a disrespectful thing, but they couldn't provide what they needed to provide that time for the players to be full time and for the game to move on. And unfortunately, like they had to fall by the wayside. And if it was a different team, Manchester United probably wouldn't have got as much stick, but it's Manchester United. Everyone hates Man United. So, but for them to come in to provide full time for a group of talented players, it's important for the game. And we can swings and roundabouts all day and say about you know, what's fair, and you should work your way through the leagues. But again, you've got to understand the leverage that a team as Manchester United bring to the league, the viewers that they bring, the eyes that they bring, and bringing something that other teams can't bring, and that's important. And like I say, there will always be sacrifices. There will always be people that fall by the wayside. For you know, there will always be a generation just before, you know, arguably like the back end of mine or the generation before, they've sacrificed because they've paved the way. They've done everything, and they've not got, you know, what they should out of it compared to the girls now. But that's just the way of the world.
Yeah, 100%. And you don't have to touch on it. You can if you want. But just, you joined and you're in Liverpool when we started. And obviously you're a United fan. I didn't know that. I've just found out recently, kind of through the Ronaldo tweeting, I've just found out. But like, as a Liverpool, what were Liverpool saying? What was other teams in the WSL saying? What was, because you talked about how you knew everyone. Was everyone talking about it? Was it a big thing? I mean, obviously, a lot of girls dropped down. A lot of girls left Liverpool and came to us.
It was a big thing. And I think, you know, at the time, you know, knowing that more of the story behind it now, like, yeah, like, why would they not go at that point in time? So I think, you know, like I say, for Manchester United, there's, you know, you look at that team, there's so many girls that grew up being Man United fans that wanted to play, and like, you'd never turn that down. Like, for me now, I'm the happiest I've ever been at Blaze, but I'm not gonna lie to you, if Manchester United turn up, it's like, oh my god, that's Manchester United, that's my team. So that it's a different situation to think about. It always is. And I think, yeah, everyone was talking about it. Everyone was like, you know, players like, you know, Alex Greenwood, like, baller. And they're thinking, is it right for her to drop down? Should she be able to drop down and still get in the England squad? And is that fair? Because, you know, players in the Championship have been smashing it for years and never got a look in. So, you know, there maybe was a little bit of that. But I think, look, it's full time. It's Manchester United. You're not going to say no. And I think anyone that probably says different is lying, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, we do need a striker, Court, so I'll put in a good word if I can.
See what? I know Mark quite well, to be fair. This is going back years. He was like an assistant or like consultant when I was at Leicester with Rianne Skinner. Okay. Yeah, the two Skinners.
Okay.
But yeah, so I know Mark well. Yeah. He's a great guy, great manager, and the process of the way that, you know, he coaches, like, you've got a good one there.
Yeah, well, you just sort of answered it. Are you happy to see him back then in the WSL?
Yeah, I think for me at Birmingham, he massively overachieved. I think you look at Birmingham now and you look at what he did, the players he had. And I think especially when he first went in, and this is the problem with not the problem, but with process-driven managers. He went in and I think he lost like quite a few of the first games, and everyone was a bit debating, like, why is he doing this? Why is he still playing out from the back and they're getting nicked off? But then at one point it goes and it clicks, and then they were smashing people to bits. I remember playing them once and thinking, you know what, like, they were just ticking a ball, and I was like, I've just run, I haven't touched the ball all game, you know. But yeah, like, he's a great guy, and like a nice man as well, like more than anything, like, and I think that's for me a big thing in football. Like, it's not necessarily just about what they can bring as a coach, it's about the person as well. So yeah, he'll do well.
Good, that's what I want to hear. I suppose I've had Rich Lafferty on talking about him, bigging him up, and I think I went to see them play Rangers, and it was that tick. It was that ticky-taka, but I don't know. I think we need a striker. I'm being told do the deal, so you know, always welcome. I've got a question here from Marty as well. How do you think you'll do this season? Obviously, I mean, I don't know. You could talk about, I don't know if you can, but, you know, Sunday we didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. I'm sure all the girls didn't expect it. But I still think you guys will do well, because I feel with the Championship, it's so unpredictable. Yeah. If anyone watched last week's show, we talked about it and just said, and I had Cov to win. I had obviously Sheffield to win. I thought Liverpool, London City Lionesses would be tight, but I thought maybe Liverpool would be, you know. And I think it's going to be on who has the best consistency, rather than, you know, Cov's got all these names, this one's full time. I think it's going to be on who's consistent. Durham always look consistent. Yeah. That's the only thing. But what's your thoughts on the season? Expectations? Do you think Leicester will stay in the WSL?
I think so. Talking for us in the Championship first, I think you look at the results, that says you all you need to know. I think that's a perfect example of what the Championship will be this season. I don't think it will be like a a one horse or a couple of horse race like it has been in previous years. I think for us, on that performance, we were disappointed. I think the first half we were quite comfortable. I've not got the footage properly yet because I don't think there is the footage, but I'm convinced I was onside. But that is what it is. That's a great ball from Tara, by the way. And that changes the game. But equally, that wasn't the case. We went into 0-0, and I think we was all, the gaffers come out, Redders has said it, and, echo that and all the same. We were disappointed in our second half performance. So we probably didn't, play to the best of our ability. But equally, you've got to give Blackburn credit. Like, they played well. They scored, and it wasn't, the best 45 minutes we've ever had. But equally, we've had the debrief. We're disappointed. But we had a great session yesterday. Morale was high. And like I say, we know looking at the rest of the results, it's going to be like that all season. So, there's got to be that balance between it not being a catastrophe, but also being disappointed. So we've done that. And I think for us, I won't give it too much away, but we sat and had a very important meeting last week about, our aims for the season, where we want to be. But again, Redders is very much process driven, similar to Mark. So it's not necessarily, obviously, it is about the results, but we think, we didn't stick to our process in the second half, and that was the problem. And we believe if we stick to our process, then everything else will come. Going on to Leicester, made some good signings. I think we did play them in pre-season, a good team. But I think going into that league now, it's more difficult than it's ever been. So I think they'll stay up. But it's going to be tough. It'll be a tough season for them.
I'm seeing a lot of people saying they're going to finish above Man United. They're going to get top 6, and I'm saying, whoa, calm it.
I don't know. We'll see on that one.
Yeah, calm it. Matt, here, would you like to see? And this is another thing I touched on with Rich last week in the Championship show. But would you like to see? And this is something that we both said is needed now. I think with the growth of the game, the way it's growing. More than one team, I think it's needed. But you go, Court.
Agree. Needed. I think for one, as again, I'll use my sort of sports business head with this. The product of the WSL that needs to be better. So the more teams, I think that's very important. I think last season, for example, as we played Spurs in the FA Cup, last game of the season, we took them to extra time. We weren't far off, and you're thinking the difference in budgets and stuff like that, and. That's not always an excuse, but I think, that bottom end of the WSL and the top few clubs of the Championship, there's not a lot in it at all. And again, once that comes with it, once you say, right, that team's going to be a WSL team, more than likely the club are going to invest and be full time. And then that bridges that little gap. So I definitely think that more needs to be done. But I think the most important thing, and something that I always bang on about, is the sustainability of the rest of the pyramid. So Championships obviously getting better, more full time, but we need to look at below that. You see in the pandemic, it was only as played. I remember we came back, we played FA Cup, we played Middlesbrough and beat them. I think it was 9-0 or 9-1, but they'd only been in training for a week, and we'd still been in training. And for me, for the women's game to properly grow and properly prosper, we need to focus on the whole pyramid, because it's coming so top heavy at the minute, and the Sky deal and everything else is fantastic, and I don't want to say any different. But the more top heavy it gets, the more that the bigger it crashes when it comes down. We've seen it with the American League. So I just want to make sure that everything below it is sustainable before we start getting ahead of ourselves as well.
100% back that, and obviously we support. We talk to Wolves fans, Southampton fans. You're seeing them getting more into it. Burnley talking about going professional, but you don't just want it to be Wolves, Southampton, Burnley. You want to look at everyone. Ipswich. Great team. They bring through a lot of their youth under 21s development team play in the first team, so they're always playing. So you don't want it to be like what you said. You don't want it to be all Premier League, but you want it to be sustainable on its own. I've got a question from Amy talking about Redders. He's managed men and women. Obviously, you've been managed by him before. Have you found there's a difference? I'm guessing you really like being managed by him because Yeah, you speak highly of him, and he seems straight to the point. He tells you the way it is, like you said. How do you find working with him, and is there a difference? Do you find because he's done both men and women?
Yeah, I think there is. I think the managers that I like, and maybe it's just my personality type. I think I like to be told how it is, and I'm probably quite like that myself, as some of my teammates will probably tell you. So yeah, Redders is fantastic for that, but and again, I look back at it, like say Rick Passmore, he was, in the men's game for a long time, and he was very similar in terms of down the line. And yeah, thinking back to the managers that I've probably enjoyed playing under the most have probably been in the men's game before, but not, or it's not necessarily just the men's game. It's just the fact of being down the line, being to the point, and being a bit ruthless. But I do think like being in the men's game gives you that. Again, like now for the next 10 years, that might probably change, that people just coming solely through the women's game might have that way of thinking and coaching. But I think, at the minute, the coaches that I've been under have had that experience, whether it's playing professionally in the men's game or coaching in the men's game. Yeah, for me, it's just more direct, and I like to know where I'm at. But every player is different. Some player likes a bit of an arm around the shoulder, and I think, but again, as a manager, Redders is quite good at that as well. Like he knows that he can probably, sit there and give it full barrels to certain players, and other players he know that he can't do that. So more than anything, it's just about being a good man manager and knowing your players.
I've heard him described as a teddy bear, so there you go. Then I've seen him shouting on the sideline. I won't say he's a teddy bear, so there you go.
Yeah, it depends what day you catch him on.
Yeah, probably. Vicky saying hope Sky will pick up the championship, and Stuart saying we don't want a monopoly. And I just want to touch on Sky. I know you do work on Sky as well, Courts, and there's a lot of women that like Sue Smith's on. I know obviously they've picked up Karen Carney to do the women's WSL, but like even Rachel Brown, she was on BT when it was on. Do you think it's good now we're seeing more women, not just women who've played football, just women in general, on talking about the men's game? Because then now someone might look at you and think, oh, you were on talking about Sheffield. I know they got a 0-0 draw, but then people think, oh, she plays for Sheffield too, let me go and watch it. Do you think we're seeing a lot more of that? Do you think that's good for the game as well?
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, I think it's Alex Scott that used this one. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And don't get me wrong, there'll always be the trailblazers. But I think it's so important to have, women, mixed race women, mixed race men, like, whatever it is in positions of power, and whether that be TV, whether that be on boards in the women's and the men's games, like just in general, like as a kid growing up, like to have that, to think I can be that, I think is a massive, massive thing. And especially now in the age that we are with social media and everything's everywhere. If you're a child and you're not seeing that sort of person when there's such a plethora of people and things on social media and TV, you're probably thinking, I can't go down that route because that route's not for me. So I think it's very important. Again, Sue is one of my former teammates. So, growing up, and playing with Sue, and then seeing the route that she's going down, I think that was important for me. And the same with Alex, to think, like this is an avenue that I could go down. And like I say, coming off the estate as a kid, and then you're looking, I'm like, wow, I'm on Sky, like it's mad. I've just seen there Jackie Oatley as well, like class. I've got a good story about Jackie Oatley. We had an FA Awards once, and we was all a bit worse for wear, and she was chanting one of my songs, and I was like, that's Jackie Oatley chanting my song. So yeah, that's funny. But I think it's important. The Sky deal is massive going forward, but just having, like I say, everyone of different genders and what races, sexualities in these positions, I think it's really important.
That's something that I want to talk about, because that's something that I always feel passionate about, that we don't see enough. We see a lot of black faces in the men's game, but I just don't feel like we see enough of it in the women's game. And there was a big talk, and there was loads of articles when it was just, I think it was Demi Stokes was like the only one player, then she pulled out. And I will always, even if they're not ready, I don't care, I'll always promote Ebony Salmon should be in the England, Lauren James, Paige Bailey-Gill, I can't say her name, Lechette Paul, I think I've said her name. Lashante, that's it. I'll always say that these girls, why aren't they in? Why is, and no disrespect to any other player, but like, why did Chloe Curley get called up for Lauren James? I want to know, because for me, I'm not saying that it is anything, but I just think, why is certain players, that's their pathway. Lauren Hemp, fantastic. I think she's even better than this person. But Lauren Hemp went through Bristol, got called up. But Ebony Salmon went through Bristol, scored all the goals, and I'm still sitting here waiting. And I think, like what you say, is you need to see it. And I'm 30 years old myself, 29 going on 30. But seeing people like you, seeing people like Paige, it does inspires me. And I'm 30 years old, so, Yeah,
I think it's important. I think we need to see it. I think in terms of then you look, you know, and this has probably been levelled at both the men's and the women's side for the FA for a long time, in terms of you seeing the same faces, older white men in suits making the decision. So I think for me, like, that is so important, that, like I say, we're getting people at board level, and it's, you know, sometimes I think it's so unconscious, a lot of bias as well, and that's not an excuse, it's not, but, you know, I think sometimes as people, you gravitate towards, you know, similar people that look like you, or you're higher in the image of you, or what you've been around, because, you know, I'm from Leicester. Like, when I went to school, multicultural background, black, white, Asian, anything, you know, like, when the war is Kosovo was going on, then we had the Kosovan refugees coming over. Obviously got Afghan refugees now. So there was my image, or the image that I thought of was a genuine multicultural of, that's just the person, and that's what you've grown up with, where not everyone's grown up in that environment. And then if they're in positions of power, it's not necessarily like a distinct decision, but it is an unconscious bias. So I think getting, like I say, people in different positions is so important. And again, you know, I think I'll go back to the RTCs, and I think this was something that was, again, looked at by the FA in terms of the centre of excellences used to be, there was more often, whereas RTCs are smaller and they're meant to be more professional, but in terms of them where they're situated, in terms of out in you know, men's teams or academies out in the middle of nowhere, you segregating obviously the kids from council estates and stuff like that. So I think that is important, that we need to look at, and like I say, not just diversity, because sometimes I hate that word because it's just like a buzzword, but yeah, not just diverse people, but diverse thinking, people that think in a different way, and look at things in a different way is always important.
100%, because I think even fan base, because I remember I did a little, can't even remember what I did, but it was Troy Townsend, and I did a speech, and they said mixed race women are the most underrepresented fan group, like, you know, of everyone. So there's more Asian women, there's more white women, there's more this, but mixed race women, they just don't seem to attend. So here's me, I'm trying to push for people to come, and I don't know, I don't think well, some kids do look at me and think, oh yeah, and they like my energy, so I just think, I suppose as fans we can do more and encourage more people, encourage different people. If you know that they don't like football, don't just ask someone that you know, ask different people, ask everyone in your work.
And I think women's football is a good gateway as well. Like, it's one of them, it's hard because, like, you almost want it to be a bit more hostile, like, for players, I think sometimes, because we want that, like, because that's how it should be, but equally it's not like that yet. So it probably is a place for people, like maybe people that think, I can't go to a men's games because of X, Y, and Z and I won't be accepted. It's not quite like that in the women's game. So it may be a safer environment to get involved. And I think, like, 9 times out of 10, like, a lot of people go and they really enjoy it. So yeah, it's just getting people like bums on seats.
You just said something, you touched on something that matters to me. Rivalry, atmosphere, you want it a bit more passion, I'd say. I'm not saying that people aren't passionate, but do you think now, basically, it's going on Sky? Because I'm thinking it's going on Sky. There's people that I know who are on this channel for the men's side, and they're asking me loads of questions. They asked me and John, we sat there, well, how's this? What's this? I don't understand why a team like this is semi-professional when this is in the Premier League, and should all Premier League teams have women's teams and all be professional? So they're asking questions like that. Those are questions that I asked when I first came. Why is the standard like that? You know, it's just something, and I think you're going to see more people coming over that are men's fans. But how do you think the women's game needs to react to that? Do you think they need to welcome the rivalry but still keep it, don't take it to that next level?
Yeah, there's a balance, isn't there? And I think, probably taking your kids to a men's football game for the first time is equally exciting and probably scarier, like, as well, depending on where you're sitting. But they're my best memories, like going to football games and probably doing things that you shouldn't do. Like, when your mum's and dad or whatever sitting there laughing and giving V's and that, and you're like 10 years old, and but like, you can do it there. Like, you don't go home and do it. But I think there needs to be now more of that rivalry, I think, for the women's game to progress, because then that's when you get more people through the gates. And I think it's important that there's only so long that different businesses and Sky and whatever will do this, without seeing some sort of return. So that the return needs to come. And then if you get more like fans involved, if you get more bums in seats, obviously that's money through the turnstiles. But then in terms of like social media interaction and stuff like that, and I think like I get it, there's got to be that balance of, because some people, they don't want to take their children to a men's game because they think it's a bit too volatile. So we don't want to put too many people off. But equally, I think to progress, we need to then sort of go to that next step to make sure the rivalry is there.
Courts, I remember, and I don't think you played, but I think you did, versus Man United, the very first game at LSV.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk after that game, oh, these United fans, this and that. And there was some things that, crossed the line, and I'll sit there and say that. But then, for me, I loved that game because it was that, it's Liverpool.
It's the atmosphere, isn't it?
I hate Liverpool. And hate is probably people probably might even get upset that I say the word hate because that might be too strong. But it's like that passion, it brings out different feelings. When we play Reading, it's like, okay, it's Reading. But then when we play City, I'm like shaking. I was so excited when we played City one time, I threw up. That's how excited I was, because it's that, it means everything. It means the world to beat Man City, especially Man City is so good. But then
I think it's probably like the status quo of women's football at that time. It probably shocked them more than anything. And this happens in any avenue, whatever it is. People 9 times out of 10 don't like change. So it's probably not what, I mean, like you say, some of it's gone too far and some of it will be that, but some of it won't be what's gone on. It's just that it's different and people don't like change initially, and then that's what happens. But I think it's got to go that way. Like I say, not the full hog, but like I say, the passion involved, the rivalry. Sometimes you go into a women's game and everyone's like mixing, like, and you know what? It's not even so much like for the WSL and that, but then you look at England games as well, and you just think sometimes the atmosphere is dead.
Yeah, 100%.
Like there's like 80,000 people in the stadium, but the atmosphere is dead, and it's like. And that's why, like, if you think, then if it gets more rivalries, if the songs start going, if everyone's in the same end of the stadium, it's hostile. That's when you create an atmosphere. And like I say, when I played against Man United, like, it's great because the atmosphere is there, and you probably are getting called all names under sun. But I love that. I think it's brilliant.
I love that. And this is one thing as well that I think can help it. I think it's something that I've always championed, and people have again called all names under the sun. But a home end and away end, and then like a neutral family end. So say in the middle of the ground, that's where, say, a Mormu who don't want it to be volatile, still wants a niceness, who still wants all that, who wants to probably see both teams or something because there's lionesses on both. But then behind one goal, you have your home fans, and behind another goal, you have an away fans. And I know we were due to play Liverpool, and they did give us an away, and whether it's United push for it or whatever, or whether they thought, these people need their own their own end. But I was so gassed for it. I was so hyped, and I know the game got called off, but I was hyped for that. And there was so much abuse. It was, Man United have ruined this. We've never had away ends. This is the way we don't want it to go. But I can tell you that atmosphere, if we all United fans had been together, bouncing, if we got the win, it would have been everything. And that's what we do. That's what I see. I think
most players want that. Like most players, like that's why obviously behind closed doors, it's been horrible. Like it's not been real football. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that players put any less into it, but it wasn't nice. So players don't want that, like that atmosphere. And like I say, sometimes you do go to a game and there's all of like 500 people there, and it's quiet. Like there may as well, like at times, like it doesn't feel like there's almost fans in there. So to have that, I think obviously, again, going into the boring bit and the businessy bit behind it. What clubs normally do is there needs to be like a certain amount of fans to be able to like open more than one stand because it's not cost effective. But I think once we get to that point where we're growing the fan base and you get more fans in, definitely, like that's what obviously you get a normal men's ground. You get like the cops, you get the away ends, you get the family stands, and I think going forward that's where it needs to be, because again, like you can't have it both ways. You're asking the game to grow and to get bigger, but that's how you do it, by creating those atmosphere, by getting the fans talking on Sky and the fan zones and whatever it is in the WSL shows. That's how it grows, that sort of interaction, and the more it gets like that, the more people will want to come.
Yeah, 100%. I think I can remember a couple of games where, and I know not more supporters clubs are doing this, to be fair, block buying. I know Chelsea fans are going down to Arsenal, but they were told they can't buy an away end. But I know when we have had it in big men's stadiums. Like we played City and we had the away end. I know Spurs gave Arsenal the away end, but for some reason Arsenal aren't giving an away end. So I know Chelsea have bought Chelsea fans 100 tickets, and then obviously just telling people which end to buy in. And I think, do you think like clubs need to do more to help fans? You know, because things like that, if Chelsea are pushing, Chelsea fans are saying, we want an away end, we've got 100 people here, just give us our own block. But Arsenal are obviously, whatever reason, you know, there's
that's a conversation that the clubs need to have again. Like, there's the boring bits and the red tape behind it in terms of, I don't know, you know, what involvement the FA potentially have in that. But it's like, and again, I don't like to speak about football as a business, but let's have it right. It is. So in any business, you need to listen to your customers or your consumers. In this instance, the fans. So if the fans are saying, look, we want this away end, we can block book this many tickets, or if you give us an away end, we'll get this many tickets. Then it makes sense. If that's what the fans want, and this is what we need to do. If that's what the fans want, if that's what's going to get more people through the door, then that's a conversation between the clubs that needs to be had.
Yeah, 100%. I think definitely we need it. John's there, who needs to go when you have AllForUnited women, definitely. And I want to touch on another thing that John put in before. I don't know if you saw it. Lone FC. And obviously you're at Sheffield now, and look at this. United fans are watching Sheffield harassing journalists for reports on Tara. You know, obviously you've seen me coming through, well, basically building up a little relationship they have with people at Sheffield, and that's through them always taking our players. I think even when Tara joined, they sort of made reference to all the players that have come through United. What do you think? Well, when you saw me, I was just saw that how interested United fans are to know about Tara. What do you think?
That's a big thing. That's massive. Of course it is, because, and like we're saying now, it's mutually beneficial because we're, you know, getting you down to games. We're getting exposure from yourselves, from Manchester United, because, you know, we've got that mutual relationship. So surely it's only positive. And on that, Vicky, if you want any match reports on Tara, just let me know. Slide in my DMs. I'll let you know how she's doing in training and games.
Oh, yeah, we definitely need that. Don't say that because everyone will be on. Everyone will be on you. When you retire, should be our business manager.
Yeah, that'll do. I see if Sky and Talksport still want me, but I think I think that's always been a big thing for me in terms of I've always wanted to be involved in football, but coaching I don't think is for me. And I always say my position might change, but the coaching that I've done when I'm playing, I still want to get involved too much, and I just feel like I can't separate it. But like I say, when I hang up my boots, maybe that changes. But yeah, the sort of background stuff. The businessy stuff, the general management is probably more down my alley if I'm going to stay within a football club.
Oh, that's good, you know, because obviously a lot of people do think coaching and stuff, but you know, it shows that there's those different pathways. How is the media gigs going? I mean, you talked about Sky, Talksport. Yeah. How do you find that? Do you think you stay in that then, or?
Yeah, like I love it. Like this is the thing. Whatever I do, I get up in the morning and I've not worked for, I don't know, about 5 years, because when I go to work, it's doing my passion. So that's important. And I probably didn't think I'd ever, you know, find that outside of football. And I know it's still obviously within football to a degree. But yeah, it was funny because like I just fell into it. So it was when I was at Liverpool, and Chris Kirkland was our goalkeeper coach, and he always did a bit of media, and like it's just a small world. He's actually from Leicester as well, and I was just speaking to him because I was doing bits and bobs. I was doing my masters. I was just trying to network and speak to people, and I was like, "Oh mate, have you got any like contacts within the media industry? Like I know you do a bit." And he put me in touch with his agent, now my agent AD, and we just had a chat and went for a coffee because he was based in Leicester as well. And next thing you know, he's like, "Oh, do you fancy covering the?" It was the Conti Cup final for Sky. It was March, just before, I think it was just before COVID, you know. I can't quite remember. Like,
Beth England scored like a hat-trick or something, didn't she? Last minute, yeah. I remember.
So yeah, like I was doing that, and I remember the first time I did it, like I had dry mouth, like because like, so this is when we was all in the studio as well, before like it was all spaced out, and then you can see the camera coming with the green lights coming on, and my heart's popping out my chest, like, and I can't remember what I said. I must have spoken so fast as well. I thought like I just tried to get my words out. Like it was a madness. But like that's the thing with me. Like I like things that excite me. Like I like things that give me that butterfly. Like I have to be passionate about things. That's my problem. Like if I'm not passionate, I won't do it. But like I'm all in. Like I'm 100%. If I love it, bang, I'm in. But if I don't, like I'm not interested. So, but yeah, like that. And then from it just went from there really. Like with Sky, I had got a great relationship with them. Obviously, it's massive that they've got the women's game, which is a big thing for me. And yeah, just then sort of plying my trade, just trying to get as much experience as possible, and I'm contracted to TalkSport now for co-coms. Which is amazing, and I've got the best of both worlds. So like sometimes I do co-com, sometimes I'm doing punditry, sometimes I'm doing either Soccer Saturday or Soccer Special, which is mad. Like, when Jeff comes to, I'm like, yes, Jeff, it's all kicking off here. And like they all take the mick out of me at training. They call me up, like, because I had an Amazon game, and then they started calling me bloody Optimus Amazon Prime, and then they call me Sky Sport. So I get ripped to shreds. But yeah, like just work with so many different people, and the sort of the support I've had is amazing. So I definitely have to pinch myself, and sometimes I say I'm lucky, which I am, but then in the other hand, like I don't want to not take away from myself, but like I work hard at what I do. Like I make sure I do my prep, and I think like coming from years ago with football, when you're balancing working and school and university and going, like I think that work ethic that's instilled in you, it makes you like the person that you are. So for me, that was important. So yeah, very lucky, don't get me wrong, and given opportunities in some places, in the right place at the right time. But also like I love what I do. So like doing all that sort of stuff is just amazing. And especially last year being at grounds when no one was in there was a privilege, but equally now being in grounds when it's like, say, when I'm on a Soccer Special, you can't hear anything in your earphones, and you're like, oh my God, I can't hear anything. I hope I'm saying the right thing. So yeah, just amazing, but definitely something that I want to pursue. And I just, like I say, think it's really important that, I'm on telly talking about, because I was very, not hesitant, that's not the word, but I didn't want to just be like, she talks about the women's game and she plays in the women's game, because I'm a footballer. I know football. Men or women, I can tell you about football because it's 11 people on a pitch. So been very fortunate as well that, like say, the likes of Optus, Amazon, TalkSport, PLP, Sky have believed in me in that sense, and given me the opportunities to talk rubbish on a weekly basis.
Yeah, John loves you. I'm sure I'll be having him. I'm sure John will be having you back on a Thursday as well, because that's when me and John do a show. So
love it.
You're always welcome on our shows, even if it's just to talk a little bit, and it's not rubbish because you're saying things that we think. So you're saying from like a fan's perspective in a way, innit? Stuff about Dan James and all this, and being a United fan, and that's everything you want to do. So it's great to have you on here and talking to us, and knowing that you go on Sky and Amazon, and then you're going to be playing on
tomorrow.
Sunday.
Catch me tomorrow. I think 11. There you go. I'm on Sky Sports News talking about WSL, so tune in.
There you go. That's another thing. Would you like to commentate on a few WSL games? Do you think they're going to put you on a few as well?
Can't say too much. I might be there and about.
Okay, that'll be good.
Obviously, like that's what. Ooh, tell you what. Nearly went. I'm trying to be all professional with this ring light, and it's just nearly collapsed on me. There you go. Yeah, like obviously that's where I've grown up doing and playing, and I think it's important that I can, not just me personally, Sky have done it, but to shine a spotlight on those players, and don't get me wrong, like people that not necessarily been in the women's game will be more than competent to commentate and see certain things, but I think having that involvement in the women's game, knowing a little bits and bobs behind the scenes, be able to personally comment on players that and what they're about, and more importantly, like give the light to these players that have.
Oh, I think she's gone. Off. But it was a great. I don't know if she's going to come back on. I'll have to message her. But she was saying good things, and thanks guys for coming in. Let me message her and see if she's going to come back on. Oh, here she is.
What happened?
I don't know. You jumped off. Go on. You were saying, but giving the light, because you know a bit about it.
Yeah, giving the light. Like I say, there's a lot of these players that have grown up paying to play, paying subs, and working jobs and going training at night, and again effectively paying to play because they're driving here, there, and everywhere. So to give that light to those players that deserve it, like, it's a massive honour for sure.
And I've just got one last one, and this is what I think. This is what I want to see. Amy, would be good to see more analysis, like a Monday Night Football or like what Match of the Day do. I think, BBC Women's Football Show, and even a bit when it was on BT, it was just, she's done well there. I want to see, this is how we beat her. This is what Man United need to do to beat a team like that. Like they do. And I know there's a talk of a 45-minute build-up and an hour build-up to Arsenal-Chelsea. Do you think we're going to see that with Sky? Like that kind of more detail of it?
Sort of. So from, the conversations that I've had, internally as well, it's going to be very much viewed as, as the same quality build-up, timing, analysis as the men's games. And I think that's really important. Sky didn't want to just pay a bit of lip service to this. They wanted to do it properly. And I think, it's one of them. It's fantastic, but with more exposure comes more scrutiny. And I think, again, most of the girls in the game, look, if you're going to get picked out and dug out in one game overall, that it's probably not going to be the best night of their life. But equally, they know that actually, you know what, that's good. Like the analysis and equally when they've done well, it'll be viewed by more people. So yeah, and I think again it's to do with timing, isn't it? Women's football show, normally it's once a week, half hour. You're trying to fit how many games into there, and it's just not doable. I think at times they did the best with what they had, but to try and fit that amount in and add analysis, it's just not appropriate. So I think again, the more games we see, hopefully there'll be sort of highlight shows and stuff like that in between where we can add more analysis. And again, and that's giving more props to the managers and the players, because like saying, oh well, they've beat them, that's fantastic, but really shine a light on what formation did they play, the analysis of that, what they've done to combat the other team, and again, that's important to show that we know that the women's game isn't as fast or strong as the men's game. We know that it's anatomy, like we just need to get rid of that now, because everyone knows that. But in terms of the tactical and the technical detail, there's just as much, if not more at times. There has to be more, because there's not that as much as a physical element. So to shine that light on, it's not just the managers, it's strength and conditioning, it's all the analysis behind the scenes. It's really important.
Yeah, 100%. I can't wait for it. Courts, you don't like the refs like us, so hopefully we'll see an improvement for them. But we probably can't talk about it. There's been big things for the ref. It's funny enough, I've just come off an FA meeting as well. And in terms of their interaction with the PGMOL, bringing that all together. Don't get me wrong, I just love it. Like, I love getting involved. Like, I give them stick. I do, and I probably don't even not like them that much, but it's just the game, innit? Like 90 minutes, you get taken away with yourself. You've seen that in full force. That's what I say. I'll stand there and watch it come off like you, and I'll still say, ref, that's a Sheffield throw. And I don't care, because that's what you do when you're in football game. It's your team, you use everything for your team.
Yeah, to play devil's advocate, and I don't think we can get around it. Like the refereeing in the WSL and the W Championship has been poor. It has. But I think the FA, in all fairness, they've held their hands up to that. And it's hard because you're working, especially, when you're a full-time team. But regardless, you're working hard all week. You're a full-time team, and then you're getting a part-time ref turning up. Don't make sense. And the refs have got to have more help. So that's coming in. That's been something that's definitely been worked on by the FA, the feedback that they've took. So, hopefully this year we'll see a better standard.
Right, Courts, I'm going to wrap it up. But I just want to shout out for everyone. Get down to LSV on Friday night. And obviously, if you can't, I unfortunately got COVID, so I can't. I'm going to miss the first one. But everyone get down, shout loud, shout at the ref, shout at the opposition, shout for our team, shout for Skinner, get down and do it. Courts, obviously, if anyone wants to come down and see you, it's Sunday, isn't it?
Sunday
versus Durham.
Chesterfield, Durham, big game. So if you can get down, please come and say hello.
I will come in to see it. So listen, if you want to come and see me on the Sunday, and then obviously back to normal Man United. But everyone's loving it, Courts. Thank you so much. It was a really great show. Really appreciate it. Just hearing from someone like you. Like I said, you inspire me, and we're the same age. So there you go. It's good seeing someone like you. But thank you so much. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you soon.